The presidential candidates of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Dumebi Kachiku, has opposed the endorsement of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, by his party. Earlier, a faction of the ADC, led by embattled chairman Ralph Nwosu, endorsed the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, and his running mate, Dati Baba Ahmed, for Saturday's presidential election. Labour Party leaders, including Professor Patu Tomi, well attended the event. Well, however, a statement by ADC's chairman, Board of Trustees of the other faction, Senator Patricia Akwashiki, describes the alleged endorsements as fraudulent, void, and of no effect, adding that the endorsement was being carried by a faction of the party not known to law for pecuniary gains.
Well, joining us now is the Rise Director of News and Politics Editor, Sambo. Good to see you, Samna, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Quite a busy moment, especially for those who are within the politics desk. Now, we've seen a potpourri of issues. It's a full plate, 5 days to the election. Let's take it from the last, which is talking about the ADC. Now, a faction held here in Abuja saying that, look, we're giving support to the Labour Party, but the presidential candidate is also saying, kicking, that's not known by law.
Yes, it's actually not known by law if you follow what the Electoral Act actually says. Before a presidential candidate can be endorsed by another political party that has a candidate, there has to be what's called the National Executive Committee meeting. That's the second highest decision-making organ of the party, where there will be a resolution reached that the presidential candidate of the party, it doesn't have the wherewithal to be able to stand in the main election, and as a result of that, the presidential candidate is being asked to step aside so that the party can then use its organs to promote a bigger candidate in another political party, and it will be contained in the resolutions. So we haven't seen some of these parties. I mean, it's not just the ADC. I mean, you would have seen some other political parties saying that they had endorsed Atiku Abubakar during the weekend. The Action Alliance said that they were not part of it, and they said it's also another faction. I mean, you keep seeing all of these things happening within some of these parties that I call fringe parties, because I mean, I've had an altercation with one of them when I call them smaller parties, and they say, no, how can you say we are smaller parties? All parties are equal. But from their actions, you can see that there's a lack of internal democracy. How could you actually go behind your own presidential candidate and actually endorse another presidential candidate without summoning a National Executive Council? And you know, when you don't have a NEC meeting, it shows that people can actually bypass the rules of the game and easily just, you know, do things anyhow. But I can tell you that in the eyes of the law, except there's a NEC resolution or a resolution of, a meeting of all members of the party, which is usually done at a national convention, most of these decisions cannot actually hold water. So, well, good to know that the other side has said that this is a faction. Okay. It's left for INEC to now tell us which of them is the real faction that's recognized based on judicial judgments and all of that.
Well, there's so much on our plate tonight. Let's talk about the PRP. Well, we saw Kola Abiola there, went for his campaign in Jos, Plateau State capital. It's the first time I'm hearing about any campaigns coming from the PRP presidential candidate. I wonder if you've been...
well,
yeah, what do you make of that?
I mean, before the campaign started, I mean, we saw Kola Abiola visiting several media houses, I mean, including ours here. And I had a session, I think twice with him, where we touched on several issues. And of course, he keeps enjoying that, euphoria of being, the son of the acclaimed, winner of June 12th. And of course, a lot of people were expecting so much from the PRP. I mean, this same PRP is the one that Atahiru Jega had also thrown his weight. And you can see the former chairman of Unity Bank, Falalu Bello, also there. I mean, these were people who were converging, in this political party that's over 40 years old, one of the oldest political parties.
Started as one of
the
oldest.
Yes. I mean, it's the oldest right now within this dispensation. People were thinking that, with the likes of Atahiru Jega, and, Falalu Bello and then Kola Biola coming in, a lot of, strength will be given to the PRP, and we'll see it bouncing back. And if you go to Kano State, for example, their governorship candidate, the son of Yakasai, Tanko Yakasai, you'll see that, there were lots of hopes. But, from what we've seen, this just looks like the very first major campaign that they're holding. And it's good to know that, ideological politics, actually pay. But sometimes, if you don't win elections, what's the essence of having a political party? Is to win elections.
Maybe with time, they will make their mark. Let's talk about assurances and reassurances coming from the top echelon of the Nigeria Police. We heard from the IGP Alkali Baba, reassuring that, look, a safe environment is going to be provided for Nigerians as they go to the polls. We also heard from the military top brass. We've heard reassurances from President Muhammadu Buhari himself. How do you look at all of this?
Well, congratulations to Nigerians. That's just all I can say, because, there were fears that, this government wasn't willing to hold an election. But with the arrival of international observers, I can tell you that it's just too late for anything to happen to this election. We've seen the signs that this election will hold, and all Nigerians should support INEC, support the security agencies. They all belong to us. We should give them all the backing. When we see, some of the INEC offices being touched, people think that they are hitting back at the government. No, they're actually hitting back at themselves, because we are all enjoying the dividends of democracy, including those who are fighting the government, who are making life difficult for all of us. Because, if it were a military government, some of these troublemakers, they won't wake up the next day. You know how brutal the military can be. But we are all enjoying the dividends of democracy, as we like to call it in this part of the world. So the police being the lead agency, showing the way, all these trainings, we need to see all of this being replicated on election day. No violence. We must ensure that the beavers are, well protected. Nigerians are well protected. The issues of human rights abuses, are shoved aside. And of course, the most important thing is that the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, has said that nothing will stop the elections from holding. So all we need right now is that, despite the challenges of the cash crunch and of course other social upheavals that we are having, just 5 days to the main election, I think it's good for us to present ourselves as a poster boy for democracy across the continent. Since 1999, we've been doing it. Let's do it again.
And now you're talking about challenges. One of the key concerns here is almost close to midnight, so it's safe to say almost 4 days to the elections. And one other issue has to do with logistics, which INEC has said it's going to use the National Union of Road Transport Workers and the Marine Transport Union. And now with the court injunction barring one's part of that transport union in Lagos State. How does that also affect the smooth running of logistics on D-Day?
Well, INEC just has to look towards having a plan B. And of course, this is why we also have the military. When it becomes too tough for you to be able to use civilian authorities or institutions to be able to distribute election results, we may have to be forced to use the last resort, which is the military. But I don't think it has gone to that extent. I would say that the military looks like a plan D or E for INEC at the moment, because we should
there are other levels.
Yes, there are other levels. We can look for some logistics companies to be able to help out. We mustn't use the transport unions. So if we explore the logistics companies and see if they are able to help out, then it will work well. INEC would have definitely had several plans in place. And of course, like we would have heard, from what we have seen over time, there are fears. There's a genuine apprehension that, one of these unions is closer to a certain candidate of certain political parties. And of course, those fears have been expressed. But the good thing is that they've gone to court, and there's, a sort of a court order. So it's good for us to obey that court order while we try to look for other means of resolving this issue. But INEC should show capacity, and we should only bring in the military as a last resort. Because if we bring in the military very quickly after this, then of course we will begin to taint with the credibility of the polls.
Right.
Because people start saying that, you know, the military actually represents the government. So the next thing you start hearing opposition parties, or maybe any party that loses, saying is that, look, the government resorted to self-help by engaging the military.
Right. Well, the question is, I mean, should NATO and is it Lagos Services, you know, Lagos State Parks Management Commission, should it even have been, you know, Plan A in the first place? But let's talk about Najatu Mohammed, the pressure on the Police Service Commission to drop her. They've eventually done that. Yes,
APC is right. I mean, why would Najatu, if she claims to have some form of integrity, still remain at the Police Service Commission? Don't forget, I'd raised this issue when that you know, statement came earlier that, you know, she had resigned, and I was asking that I hope she also resigned from the Police Service Commission, because the APC-led federal government appointed her to that. But she, in some of her interviews, she has said that, look, she's there serving the people, and it's not compulsory for her to resign. I mean, there seemed to be some sort of conflict of interest there, and we are almost heading there.
Yeah, because if has she been punished for taking a stance?
No, it's not about taking a stand. It's about your integrity too. If you're trying to fight people because you think that they don't have integrity, then the onus also lies on you to also run away from the responsibility given to you by those set of people. So she should just resign, because I mean, how would it have made sense to a lot of Nigerians that someone who is recognized with the main opposition People's Democratic Party is being asked to, you know, check the alleged misconduct of the police or the conduct of the police during the election? I mean, it doesn't really sit well. Whose report? Who will believe the report that will be sent? And she's the one representing the Northwest in the Police Service Commission, and we know that the Northwest has a huge quantum of votes that will decide eventually who becomes the president of the country. So I think it was a right move. I mean, it's the right move by the APC to complain. They have genuine rights to complain, and I think in the in good conscience, Najatu Mohammed should actually just resign from the Police Service Commission.
But would you say the same for the Lagos REC, the Resident Electoral Commissioner, Segun Agbaje? The Labour Party has, you know, has raised.
Yes, not only Labour Party. A lot of people have been saying that he's too close to the All Progressives Congress in Lagos. So good conscience should have demanded that the INEC INEC chairman should also have, you know, removed him from there and taken him to another state, repost him to another state, or I mean, he should simply resign, because you would have heard what Patutomi said, that he knows him from a very long period of time, and even his previous postings as Resident Electoral Commissioner, it's been embroiled in all sorts of controversies. So there's no reason why he should still remain the Resident Electoral Commissioner for Lagos. So if the APC is complaining about Najatu Mohammed and the position she's still holding, and then other parties are also saying that the Lagos Resident Electoral Commissioner is closer to the APC, then I see no reason why he should still remain in that position. It's either they repost him, or I mean, he should be shown the way out.
Right. Somna Sambo, political man, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, Somna is the Director of News and Politics Editor at Arise News here.